Welcome to English Audio Stories. Here, you'll improve your English by listening to engaging stories, fairy tales, and fascinating tales from around the world. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story.
Kasim and Ali Baba were brothers. Kasim was rich with a shop, a fine house, and a lovely garden. Ali Baba had very little money. He was a woodcutter with only 2 donkeys and a very small house. So the 2 brothers didn't often meet. One day, Ali Baba wanted to cut wood. He took his 2 donkeys and walked a long way. He came to a mountain. There were a lot of good trees at the bottom of the mountain. But suddenly, he heard the sound of horses. To Ali Baba, the sound meant only one thing: thieves. Quickly he pushed his donkeys away and climbed a tree. Ali Baba was right. They were thieves. 40 thieves. They stopped near Ali Baba's tree and got down from their horses. Ali Baba was very afraid, but the thieves didn't see him. The first thief went to the mountain. He stood in front of it and said very quietly, "Open, sesame." Then the wall of the mountain opened, and there was a large cave. The thieves carried bags into the cave, and the mountain closed behind them. Then they came out again and got on their horses. They went away through the trees. Ali Baba was very surprised. When everything was quiet, he came down from his tree. He went to the mountain. He stood in front of it and said, "Open, sesame." The wall of the mountain opened, and Ali Baba went into the cave. It was very dark inside. He couldn't see anything for a short time. Then he saw a lot of gold and other beautiful things. Ali Baba found his donkeys. He put the gold in 2 bags and put firewood on the top. Then he went home. It was very late when Ali Baba arrived home. He carried the bags into his house and showed the gold to his wife. She was very surprised and happy. The next day, Ali Baba's wife met Kasim's wife in the town. Kasim's wife liked to know everything. "Why are you happy today?" she asked. "Something happened to Ali Baba yesterday," answered his wife. "It's very exciting. Now we're going to be rich." Kasim's wife went home and told her husband about Ali Baba. Kasim went to Ali Baba's house. "Brother, my wife says you're going to be rich," he said. "Please tell me, how did it happen?" Ali Baba said nothing, but Kasim asked again and again. In the end, Ali Baba told his brother about the cave in the mountain. Next morning, Kasim left home early and took 20 donkeys with him. He found the mountain and opened the cave. Then he went inside, and the mountain closed behind him. Kasim could think only of gold. He carried 20 bags of gold to the mouth of the cave. He wanted to open the cave again, but he couldn't remember the right words. "Open mountain," he said. Then, "Open cave." He tried 100 ways, but the mountain didn't move. Suddenly the 40 thieves came back and saw the donkeys outside the cave. They opened the cave and ran inside. They found Kasim inside, and they killed him with their knives. "Let's cut this dead man into pieces," they said. "Perhaps other people know about this place too. When they see the pieces, they'll be afraid." They cut Cassim into 4 pieces and left the pieces inside the cave. Then they took his 20 donkeys and went away. Night came, but Cassim didn't come home. His wife went to Ali Baba. "Please, go and look for my husband," she said. So Ali Baba took his 2 donkeys and walked all night. In the morning he came to the mountain. "Open, sesame," he said, and the cave opened. He saw the 4 pieces of his brother on the ground. "The 40 thieves did this," he thought. "Where are they now? Perhaps they'll come back. I have to be quick." He put the 4 pieces of Cassim into a bag and went home. Ali Baba didn't want people to ask questions about Cassim. Why is Cassim dead? Who killed him? Where? How? He didn't want everybody to know about the cave. Cassim had a very clever servant girl, Marjana. Marjana always knew the answer to a problem. She went to a doctor in the town. "Please, sir," she said to the doctor, "Cassim is very ill. Please give me something for him." In this way the story quickly went round the town. Cassim was very ill. The next day Marjana went to the doctor again. Later that day Cassim's wife and Marjana began to cry loudly. People in the houses near Cassim's house heard them. "Listen," people said. "Cassim's wife and servant are crying. Cassim was very ill, and now he's dead." "Now everybody knows Cassim is dead," said Ali Baba. "But he's in 4 pieces. We can't put him into the ground. People will see him and ask questions. Why is Cassim in 4 pieces? Who cut him into pieces? Where?" Again Marjana had an idea. In the town there was an old shoemaker. His eyes were very bad, and he couldn't see anything, but he was very good at his work. Marjana went to his house and gave the old man some gold. "Come with me, and I'll give you more gold," she said. "I have 4 pieces of something. I want you to make the 4 pieces into 1 piece." She gave him the 4 pieces of Cassim. The old man worked hard all night. In the morning, Cassim was in 1 piece again, and they put him into the ground. Ali Baba and his wife and children moved into Cassim's house with Cassim's wife and Marjana. They lived happily for a time. But the story didn't end there. Other people weren't very happy. The 40 thieves. When the thieves came back to the cave, they were very surprised. Where were the 4 pieces of the dead man? "Another person knows about our cave," they thought. "Perhaps the dead man had friends. But who was the dead man? We killed him before we could ask him." "I have an idea," said one thief. "I'll go into the town and ask some questions. Perhaps somebody will remember a dead man in 4 pieces." The thief went into the town. He asked a lot of questions, but he didn't learn anything. Then he came to the shop of the old shoemaker. He watched the old man at work. "Your work is very good, old man," said the thief. "Yes," said the shoemaker. "I can make everything. Last week I made 4 pieces of a dead man into 1 piece." "Really?" said the thief. "That's very interesting. Who was this dead man? Where did he live?" "I don't know," answered the shoemaker. "A girl came here and took me to a house. I did my work there." "Take this gold," said the thief. "Can you remember the way to the house?" The old shoemaker took the thief through the streets and stopped outside Cassim's door. "This was the house," he said. The thief took the old man home. Then he went back to the other 39 thieves and told them his story. One evening, some weeks later, a seller of oil came to the door of Cassim's house. He had 20 donkeys with him. Each donkey carried 2 big oil jars. The oil seller said to Ali Baba, "Sir, I'm going to sell these jars of oil tomorrow. Please, can I leave them outside your house tonight?" "Bring in your donkeys and your jars," said Ali Baba. "You can eat with us and stay here for the night." The oil seller brought in his donkeys and jars. Then Ali Baba took him inside. Marjana was in the kitchen. She started to cook the dinner, but the oil in her lamp went out. "I know," she thought. "There's a lot of oil in the jars outside. I can take a little for my lamp." She went outside to the jars. When she got to the first jar, a man asked from inside the jar, "Is it time?" Marjana was very surprised, but she thought quickly. She answered, "No, it isn't time." Then she went to every jar. From each jar she heard the same question and gave the same answer. Only the last jar really had oil in it. Something was very wrong. "The men in these jars are 39 thieves," Marjana thought. "The oil seller is a thief too. They are going to kill Ali Baba and his family. I have to do something." She carried the oil from the last jar into the kitchen and put it over the fire. When the oil was very hot, she went outside and put some hot oil into every jar. In this way, she killed 39 of the 40 thieves. But the last thief, the most dangerous, was upstairs with Ali Baba and his family. Later that night, Ali Baba and his family were asleep in bed. But Marjana was in her kitchen. She waited for the thief. He came downstairs and went outside. Marjana watched him. He went to the first jar and said, "It's time." But there was no answer from the jar. The thief looked inside and saw a dead man. He was very surprised and afraid. He ran from jar to jar and found the same thing in every jar. Then he came to the last jar. There was nothing in it. Marjana began to make a loud noise from the kitchen. The thief was afraid and climbed into the jar. Then Marjana carried more hot oil to the jar and put it on top of the thief inside. Now he was dead too. In the morning, Marjana told Ali Baba everything. "Thank you very much, Marjana," said Ali Baba. "You are a very clever girl. Will you marry my son?" So Marjana lived happily with the family for many years.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next one. See you in the next story.